The call of the loon. It's an instantly recognizable sound of summer in Minnesota, but now some researchers are sounding the alarm on our beloved state bird. Sammy Salinas shows us the concern looming over our youngest of loons.
A clear day
It's nice to be out in the morning.
can bring more clarity.
There are downsides to studying an aquatic diving animal that I realize at moments like this.
Walter Piper is out early in Cross Lake on loon time.
Loons do most of their interesting behaviors, their territorial behaviors, early in the day.
He's a professor of biology and ecologist at Chapman University in California.
Probably an intruder coming in to try to establish a territory.
He's also the head of the Loon Project.
Oh, right there.
He's trying to get a glimpse of what lies just beneath the surface.
With this bird, we are trying to get bands on the legs.
Those bracelets help them identify individual loons
And they're tricky to see.
and dive into their history. Researchers have been returning to Crow Wing and Cass counties for 6 years, so they can tell which chicks eventually come back to their natal area and which don't return.
I feel like we need to be honest, forthright. I think it's time for us to tell the people of Minnesota that we have some concerns about loons.
Now, Piper has also studied loons in Wisconsin for 3 decades and found survival of young loons ages 0 to 4 is sharply down. In a 2020 study, the return rate plunged by 53% over 25 years. And Piper says that troubling trend has only gotten worse in northern Wisconsin.
Yeah, there's a nest with an egg.
Now he says the return rate that he sees in Crow Wing County, Minnesota, is virtually identical to the low return rate in Wisconsin.
And one of the factors that might be related to this die-off is that the chicks are not getting enough food. And if they don't get enough food in the first 5 weeks, they don't develop into high-quality individuals.
His research has found the weight of chicks and water clarity are closely linked.
If water clarity declines, loons, which are visual predators, have trouble finding enough food for their chicks. How heavy you are as a chick predicts how many chicks you are going to produce as an adult during your lifetime. So, and it's called the silver spoon effect.
The DNR's Loon Monitoring Program, which takes data gathered by citizen scientists, reports a decline in juvenile loons over the past 3 decades, a trend they define as concerning.
Clearly there's something going on. We just don't know why it's going on. So we need to think hard about setting up finer scale studies to discern what these mechanisms of decline might be.
Chris Janelle is a wildlife biometrician for the DNR. He says the monitoring program and Piper's data supports one another's findings, though the DNR counts loons across 6 study areas, while Piper bans and tracks individual loons only around Cross Lake.
I don't think their populations are going to collapse tomorrow. Is this a troubling trend that we've identified? Absolutely.
But Piper says now is the time for humans to intervene
I think we're set. Yeah, let's go, Rich.
before it's too late.
You see something?
The other half of Piper's work in Minnesota happens at night,
Okay, so chick.
when the project's team can sneak up on chicks and their parents.
Got him. You got the left wing? Let's see.
the left wing. 2, 1, go.
That's the whole family. Good. Okay, good work. That was great.
Nice.
All right.
They weigh all the birds
Smaller than average male. Don't take that personally.
and band new chicks.
By looking at those, we see what's young adult survival like.
Piper says he's panicked about the evidence of human impact on water clarity and how it's affecting young loons. But he says more research needs to be done.
13423.
Good. All right, back in the box.
But he says his message is clear.
In the long haul, it's just not going to be enough to sustain the population we fear, and so it's time to recognize that. So we're just going to let them all go.
So as he releases this family of loons, he has a bittersweet feeling.
Ready to go? Uh-oh. I didn't mean that.
Not because of whatever that was,
Okay, that was quite spectacular, so.
but because it's unclear
All right, here we go.
he will see all of them again. so he'll continue to work to improve their chances of coming back.
I know you want your chick.
With photojournalist Mitchell Yale,
Let's go.
Sammy Solina, KARE 11 News.
The DNR says agricultural runoff and human encroachment impacting water clarity is one of the few hypotheses they hope to look into when researching the cause of young loon declines. They say they will need to team up with more researchers to cover more ground. The Loon Project is largely donor funded, and you can learn more about Piper's work at KARE11.com. Stick with us. More news and weather is coming up after the break.